Hi, welcome to English 360. Welcome very much indeed, because I have been away for over 3 months, maybe more, who knows. I'm back. I'm back with a video and an article on the BBC which talks about love life. This podcast is tailored towards people who are a little older, so definitely not your 5-year-olds, obviously, because they would not understand what I'm talking about. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today's topic is about dating apps. Now, I am old enough to know a world where there were no dating apps. And if you wanted to go out with a person, you just had to go out and find a person. So you had to go to places where people were and meet them face to face. And there is a great deal of wisdom, because for thousands of years we have done this. We have exactly done this. We have gone out and met people, and we can read people's body language and what they are doing and why they're doing. And sometimes that's enough to know if a person is right for you or if the person is not the perfect fit. So the so-called Mr. Right or Miss Right, for example. But with the advent of dating apps, and a lot of young people now are on dating apps, believe it or not, because they don't have time to go out. So there's an article on the BBC which says why people behave badly on dating apps, because apparently they do. You will find the link to this article on our website and in the description as well. So it says, cheating, coasting, swiping, online dating brings out the worst in many people. Does it have to be this way? Dating today comes with plenty of pitfalls being problems, unexpected problems that you can run into. Yet, if a stranger began chatting up someone in a pub, few people would respond directly with, "No, you're too short for me, and I don't think I like your politics. Please remove yourself from my orbit." Similarly, most men wouldn't expose their genitalia before saying a word on a first date. That in itself is just terrible. Very few people would walk out of a coffee shop mid-conversation, leaving behind a person they'd been seeing for weeks. But this tends to happen in an app. As bizarre as these behaviors seem when enacted in real life, people do the digital equivalents all the time while dating online. These situations have become commonplace on the thousands of dating apps, sites, which isn't great news for the millions of people who use them. In the US, 3 in 10 adults, poor them, a proportion that jumped to 48% among the 18 to 29-year-olds. Accordingly, would-be daters face lots of emotional problems as they swipe and scroll. In 2018, a team of researchers across the Netherlands and US found 42% of people with dating app Tinder profiles were married or in a relationship but still seeking dates. That should make you think. It's just the opportunity. You have an opportunity on your phone. You're going to bed, you're in the middle of the night, your wife or your girlfriend is sleeping next to you, and you just on an app, just want to try. It's just a bit odd. Meanwhile, abuse in the form of trolling is prevalent on the apps. Users also endure coasting as matches disappear without a trace. And some people are also targeted for unsolicited graphic photos. That's just bad. Of course, plenty of people behave badly when trying to pick up someone at a pub or club, or even on a date organized by mutual friends. But certain features of dating apps specifically make them unusually rife with poor conduct. The screen mediates our courage, so we will do and say things online that we would never do in real life. says Dr. Joanne Orlando, an Australia-based researcher and author who focuses on digital wellness. I think in a way, being behind a screen, you can also do certain things to protect yourself that you wouldn't be able to do in a pub or in a club. For instance, if you didn't like a person, you couldn't just walk away very easily. And if you found a person obnoxious, you would have to kind of find it within you to get rid of that person. While on the screen, you can just, swipe and move on. So I don't think it's all bad though. And especially because we live in a world which is social media oriented. So whether you like it or you don't, this is what we're dealing with. So Tinder and there's another app I can't remember where women can actually choose who they want to contact, which I think is good. Other aspects of these apps like addiction-inspiring algorithms and wealth of options also make people braver. They seem to give users not only a license to behave badly, but also even an incentive. What they offer, after all, is a numbers game. Whether users want to find casual sex or romantic love, the wider they cast their nets, more chance they have of finding it. This can encourage users to callously throw back their less promising catches and move quickly from one person to next. It's the life we're living, right? So they can use the apps to their maximum effect. All of this has troubling implications for online dating and the millions of people who lean on these sites and apps to find matches. A number that's growing each year, bad behavior practiced and perfected on dating apps can easily bleed into the rest of our lives, and often it does. That's where it becomes problematic when you bring your online practices into the real life. So what exactly happens? Daters behaving badly. Bad behavior on dating apps ranges widely from the relatively innocuous but presumptuous pickup lines, "Hey gorgeous, what are you doing tonight?" to a full-blown threats and abuse. But many of the most common transgressions fall somewhere in the middle. This includes infidelity. Dan Weiser, an associate professor at Texas Tech University, US, who studies infidelity, became interested in examining this phenomenon on Tinder after one of her undergraduates, research assistants, mentioned she'd seen her friend's boyfriend on the app. He was posing as single and the friend didn't know how to deal with it. Sympathetic to and intrigued by her student's dilemma, Weiser began collecting data from 550 undergraduate students about infidelity on Tinder, which was published in 2018 study. Many participants said they witnessed cheating via the app. About 64% reported seeing someone on Tinder whom they knew to be in an exclusive relationship. Even those in the survey weren't exempt from this behavior. Roughly 17% of the students' participants themselves admitted to messaging someone on Tinder while in a relationship. And about 7% said that they had a sexual experience with someone they met on Tinder while dating someone else. Weiser acknowledges there are diverse reasons why people engage in infidelity, calling Tinder one of the many tools that can facilitate the process, but she says apps like Tinder can make looking for people to cheat with easier, as it offers up a pool of people already seeking romance and sex that don't necessarily exist in the cheater's immediate community. So basically, if you have a dirty mind, Tinder makes it easier for you. That's the bottom line. I don't think any app will make a person more susceptible to cheating. They will find other ways to do it anyway. Last year, for example, Tinder released a feature that lets users block contacts of people they wouldn't want to run into while trying to find a date, such as family members, colleagues, and exes. That could make the app an even safer tool for aspiring or active cheaters who want features that can help them avoid getting caught. I think the bottom line is whether we find cheating to be immoral, because in this current climate, nothing is off the table. Why is cheating wrong? If cheating is wrong, then lots of other things should be considered wrong as well, not just cheating. So why do we pick and choose what's right, what's wrong? A relationship could be based on a permanent partner plus various other affairs. Who says that's wrong? I mean, I believe that's wrong. From my point of view, it's totally wrong. But again, we are judging other people based on notions which are, traditional and old. And we should make up our minds what's right, what's wrong, and according to what context and what line of thought and what traditional values. Why do we pick and choose? That's my point. Another problem is ghosting, a notorious online dating behavior that has become an increasingly accepted way to end short-term dating relationships. There are multiple ways to ghost, from ending a relationship abruptly by ceasing to reply to a message, to slowly trailing off communication, says that's a difficult name, Lefebvre, Associate Professor in Communication Studies at the University of Alabama, USA. A 2016 survey by dating service Plenty of Fish shows 80% of respondents between 18 and 33 years old reportedly having at least one relationship end via ghosting. Interpersonal conflict is never easy, and online dating services let people break off relationships without a face-to-face interaction. Some people love that, says Lefebvre or Lefebvre. In these cases, daters can simply melt away or disappear in the digital world. As far as bad conduct goes, this trailing off can seem more subtle, adds Lefebvre. If anybody knows how to pronounce this name, please leave it in the comment section. But it can be impactful, leaving the recipient to question what they did wrong. While Lefebvre's 2019 paper on ghosting didn't focus exclusively on dating apps, many of the people she'd surveyed noted how ghosting emerged simultaneously with mobile dating apps, she says, suggesting the practice is somehow intertwined with meeting potential partners online. There are so many opportunities to be ghosted on the app before you even meet, she says. So you're potentially excluding people, ghosting them, whom you have never met. So you're probably missing out on people who are just the right fit for you, for whatever reason. A lot of negative emotions. Generally, women are disproportionately affected by online dating behavior. But this is particularly the case with what Lefebvre believes is the biggest issue on dating apps: unsolicited, explicit sexting messages. Through her research, she's found, unsurprisingly, the target of these messages are mostly women. While 35% of respondents to the 2020 Pew Research Center study reported someone had sent them an explicit message or image they didn't ask for on a dating app, that number rose to 57% among female users aged 18 to 34. Of that demographic, 44% reported someone calling them an offensive name on a dating site or app, compared to 28% of the larger user population, and 19% of young women say someone's threatened physical harm to them on the app versus 9% of people overall. You know what it reminds me of? In some countries in the world, when you turn down a person, they get really violent, and some people end up dying because of that. It reminds me of that. It's less serious maybe, but the mindset is the same, I would say. In conducting her research on digital dating abuse perpetration and impact, University of Melbourne researcher Cynthia Brown was particularly struck by the misperception of young men about the impact their dating app behaviors had on young women, she says. For example, some young men thought that some young women would like and be flattered by the young woman's lewd image being shared. In their minds, believes Brown, other men approving of the woman's nude photos that they had shared privately with their date only. Why would you do that? Would amount to a positive endorsement, and what woman wouldn't want that? Young women on the receiving end of bad digital dating behavior in Brown's study reported a lot of negative emotions, like stress and fear, while young men were much more concerned about their reputations. Based on their experiences on the apps, this comes down to some men feeling that rejection on dating apps challenge their masculinity, suggests Brown, which can feed into their abusive behaviors. What I was saying about certain parts of the world when men get abusive and violent. Digital wellness researcher Orlando says that although both men and women can be on the receiving end of negative comments while dating online, there's a gender divide for how this abuse manifests. She suggests women are more likely to be the target of inappropriate sexual comments on dating apps, whereas men are more likely to get negative comments pertaining to their success and achievements, or their lack thereof. And these derogatory remarks are a growing problem, she adds, as people are taking out their problems and frustrations on others. Subsequently, there is an overall acceptance that people will not be nice online. We gradually drop our standards. As these kinds of actions proliferate across online dating, there is a problematic side effect. Some of the bad behavior becomes more normative, says Lefebvre, and this growing acceptance has caused these online transgressions to bleed into people's off-screen lives too. For instance, the endless swiping culture of online dating can make people more dismissive of others' humanity and potentially make them act more callously. Online, the endless stream of users' photos may practically feel no different from the colorful jelly beans raining down from the screen when they play Candy Crush. So even when app users meet dates in person, they've become conditioned to this dismissive dating app culture and more naturally defer to insensitive behaviors like ghosting even after an in-person date. The business of online dating hasn't made everyone worse. However, on the upside, Lefebvre has noticed in her work that sometimes poor conduct on dating apps can inspire those who experience it to do better. Among those who are ghosted and found the behavior to be particularly harmful to them psychologically, some take note never to hurt anyone else the same way. This unfortunately was a small category of people Lefebvre studied. Ultimately, then, many daters have had to grow thicker skins to guard themselves against hurt if they stay in dating game. And many people have become resigned to dating simply being an unpleasant process, says Lefebvre, because they've been on the receiving end of bad behavior. Overwhelmingly, the burden of having to filter through so many people on dating apps, not knowing who will send an unsolicited nude photo and who will show up with flowers on date 2, can cause users to accept the negative behavior along with the good ones, suggests Orlando. We get used to communication like that, and it becomes part of a relationship and probably the next one and the one after that, she says, affecting in the long term what people see as acceptable parts of dating. We gradually drop our standards. So in the end, it's a wonderful article. If you want to read it, I'll leave the link in the description. Do subscribe to our channel, please. It'll help us produce more content. Thanks very much for listening and watching, and I hope you find your loved ones if you haven't yet. God bless. Peace.